guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make these beautiful mesh shorts. They could be a very good match for our sunburst bralette that we made last week, just like you see in this video. And for those who would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a few items. You'll need yarn. For the yarn, I'm using Seagull, and it's a 4-ply acrylic yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn, so I'll be doubling my strand. If you have a DK weight yarn or any thicker yarn that recommends a 4mm crochet hook, you don't need to double your strand. Then for the hook, I've already mentioned a 4mm crochet hook. Stitch marker, this will be only one that's needed for this project. And then you also need a darning needle to weave in your ends and also to create the tassels of the drawstring. You also need a measuring tape. So let's get started. So you're going to grab your yarn. As I told you, I'll be doubling my strand because mine is really thin and I want something a little bit thicker. So you're going to start off with a slip knot. And the first measurement that we are going to take is the measurement around the widest part of your hips. Remember, shorts are put on from the bottom. That means if they can't pass through the widest part of your hips, then these shorts cannot be worn by you. So you have to keep that in mind. So you're going to take a measurement of your hips. And for me, I'll be considering a measurement of 40 inches, which is for a size medium. So you're going to go ahead and make a chain that stretches to 40 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll come back to show you how many chains that I did for my measurement. So I've done a total of 140 chains, and when I measure this chain without stretching it, it's around 29 inches. As you can see here, we have a total of around 29 to 30 inches. But when I stretch it, it can go up to 40 inches. I'm not fully stretching it, so you have to keep that in mind. You don't want to fully stretch it because the mesh pattern kind of shrinks. And if you overstretch it to get the 40 inches and it's like this, very tight, then it's going to give you a very tiny fitting, which may be a little bit uncomfortable, that your flesh will be pressing to get out of the mesh pattern. So when slightly stretched, not fully, but just find a middle balance, a good balance for your stretch. So once you get the number of chains that you need for your size, you're going to make sure that your chain is not twisted, and you're going to make a slip stitch into the very first chain that you made. So into the very first chain, you're going to place one slip stitch there, and this will create a ring. So we're going to start working around the ring that we just created. So you're going to make a chain of 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1. Then you're going to prepare for a double crochet by yarning over. Skip the next chain, which is this one, and into the next, you're going to insert your hook, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double crochet. So chain 1, skip 1 chain, go into the next chain with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, double crochet into the next chain. And we're going to repeat this all the way around our ring that we created, creating the mesh pattern all the way around the very first round. This is what you'll have. Your spaces will pretty much be even as long as you have an even tension. So go all the way around and I'll meet you back. at the beginning of the round. So chain 1, skip 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the next chain. Repeat that all the way around. Alright guys, we're coming to the end of the very first round, and I'm chaining 1 and placing 1 double crochet after skipping 1 chain. And from here I'm going to chain 1 and skip the very last chain and go into the third chain of the first chain 4. So we are going to count from here 1, 2, and into the third you're going to place a slip stitch. So insert your hook, pull through all. That's a slip stitch, and that's how we've ended our very first round. Make sure that your work is not twisted at this point, otherwise you're going to have to unravel it and start afresh. So from here we're going on to round 2, and for round 2 we're going to make a chain of 4, which is a double crochet chain 1. Turn your work, and you're going to place 1 double crochet into the next double crochet. For this pattern we don't work a double crochet into the chain space unless stated otherwise. For the mesh design you're going to just go into the double crochets, placing 1 double crochet into each and then chaining 1, and then 1 double crochet into the next double crochet and then chain 1, and repeat that all the way around. And I'll meet you back at the beginning of this round. Alright, so we're coming to the end of the second round, and I'm placing my very last double crochet right before that very last space here. So from here you're going to make a chain of 1 and go into the third chain of the very first chain 4, so it's this one, and place your slip stitch in there. So that marks the end of round 2. You're going to repeat round 2 back and forth. I'm saying back and forth because you have to keep turning. For example, when you're beginning round 3 you make a chain of 4 and then turn your work, and that's the same exact thing that we did for the second round, and then start creating your mesh pattern. As usual, double crochet chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, and create your mesh pattern. So don't forget to always turn your work at the beginning of each and every round. So we're going to repeat round 2 until you have a specific number of rounds. I'll be mentioning the rounds that I recommend for the different sizes, but if you don't want to follow along with mine, then you're going to keep working until this measures from your waistline all the way down to your crotch where your legs separate, and you have to make sure you're stretching it a bit when it comes to this part, because we want it to be fully stretched when it's worn on the body. So keep working those rounds until you get to that part, or follow along with the numbers that I'll be giving you later on in the video. So let me go ahead and work mine, and I'll be letting you know how many rounds that I recommend for the different sizes. Okay guys, so after about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 rounds. This could be for a size medium. For a small, you're going to do a total of 13 rounds so that your short can stretch upwards and hug your body, just like we have in the photo that we have in the thumbnail. So 15 rounds for medium. Large, you're going to do a total of 17 rounds, and 19 rounds for XL. So once you do this, you're going to count the number of spaces that you have all the way around the base of your shirt. So you're going to count from here. This will be 1. I'm going to go ahead and count the total around. So I have a total of 69 spaces. So you're going to get the closest number to 69, which should be an even number. So you go down by 1. So if you have 69, you're going to go down by 1 and go to 68, and divide 68 by 2, which is 34. I'm just trying to balance to get an even number that can be divisible by 2. But if you have an even number of spaces, you're going to go ahead and just divide it by 2. If you happen to have an odd number of spaces, just like I do, you're going to just go down one number and then just subtract 1 and then divide that number that you're left with by 2, so that you get the number of boxes that has to go on each side of the leg hole. So I had 69, subtract 1, which is 68, divide by 2, which is 34. So each leg hole is going to have 34 spaces. So one of them is going to have 35, but it won't even show because it's a very slight change. So I'm going to make a chain of So I've done a total of 15 chains. If you're a size extra small, you're going to do a total of 13 chains, 15 chains for a medium, 17 chains for a large, and 19 chains for an XL. And now you're going to get a stitch marker. So I have my stitch marker here, and I'm going to locate the 34th space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34. And after the 34th space, into that stitch, as you can see here, I've placed a stitch marker. So after your 15 chains, or the number of chains that you need for your size, you are going to place a slip stitch into that space, into that stitch where you placed the stitch marker. Now you can remove your stitch marker at this point. And this is what we have at the moment. Make sure the chain is not twisted. So we're going to first work on one leg hole, and then we shall come back to the second leg hole later on. We're going to first work this side, or whatever side that you wish to work on first. So we're going to make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1. And then I've first worked on this side because we are working in the opposite direction of the previous row. So just go into the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next. Remember, for this pattern, we don't work any stitch into the chain spaces. We just go into the double crochet stitches. Just note that, and go all the way around the leg hole, creating the mesh pattern, just like we've been doing for the body of the shirt. So I've made it all the way around until I got to one space right before the chain that we created in the middle of the leg holes. So once you get here, you're going to chain 1, skip the space, and go into the stitch with 1 double crochet. And now we're going to start working on the chain. So chain 1, skip the very first chain, and then go into the next chain with 1 double crochet. We are keeping the mesh pattern going. So chain 1, skip 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1 chain, 1 double crochet into the next, and repeat that all the way across the chain until you come back to the beginning of this round. So we're coming to the end of the chain, and you should be having one chain left. As you can see there, we have one chain there. You're going to chain one, skip that last chain, and slip stitch into the third chain of the first chain 4 of the round. So this is what we have. We have worked our very first round of the first leg hole. So after this, you're going to chain 4, turn your work. This is round 2 of the leg hole. So chain 4, turn your work, so that we are working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So continue to create the mesh pattern by chaining 1, skipping the space, and double crocheting into the next double crochet all the way around. So you should notice that we've gone back to the same pattern that we were doing for the body of the upper part of the shirt before we started working on the leg holes. So go all the way around, back and forth, creating this mesh pattern until you get the length of the downer part of the shirt that you need for your desired coverage. And then I'll meet you back to let you know how many rounds that I did, and then we shall work on the edging of the shirt. Alright guys, so I have decided to do a total of 3 rounds after creating the leg holes. As you can see, we have 1, 2, and 3, and I'm at the end of my 3rd round. I'm finishing it up with a chain of 1 and slip stitching into the 3rd chain of the very first chain 4 of the round. So this is what the first leg hole will look like. This is what we have. We have a very short fly or leg parting because we want the shorts to actually fit exactly like what we have in the thumbnail. I can't emphasize this enough. This is not usually what I do for my shorts or pants, because I usually love to create room and space for someone to have all the freedom to move around without like this garment over being tight in the middle section. But for this particular one, we are creating exactly what we saw in the photo. So we are now going to start creating the edging, and for the edging, you're going to make sure you're working on the right side of your work. So whatever side that you're on, you're going to chain 1 and then turn onto the right side of your shirt. So as you can see, we are working on the right side. So you're going to make 1 single crochet into the very first space like this, and now we are going to start creating shell stitches. So you're going to skip the next space, and into the next you're going to place a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 double crochets, all in the same space. So the moment you're done with that, skip 1 space, and into the next you're going to place a single crochet. So that will create a shell at the base of our shirt, and we're going to repeat this all the way around. Sorry, my yarn is getting stuck at some point. So after this, you're going to skip 1 space, and into the next you're going to place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and after your 7th double crochet, you're going to skip 1 space and then 1 single crochet into the next space. So go all the way around, creating these beautiful shells all the way around the base of your shirt. Okay guys, I've made it all the way around, creating the shell pattern at the base of the shirt, and you can see where I am right now. I have only one space left, and for that space I'm going to just place a single crochet and slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round, just because we cannot create a shell in this space. They'll look very disorganized and very compact around this space here. So after this, I'm going to chain one and cut my yarn, and this is what we have for the very first leg hole. This is what we have. So we're going to attach our yarn onto the opposite side. I'm usually told that when I say do the same exact thing on the other side, some people just don't understand what I mean by that. So I'm going to just walk you through the first steps. You're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to attach your yarn on any of these ends, but you should make sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So since the stitches are facing this side, I'm going to attach my yarn on this side so that I'm working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So I'm going to attach my yarn here in this space which has the chain attached to it. Remember that chain that we created there? We're going to attach our yarn there. And then you're going to make a chain of 4 and continue creating the mesh pattern as usual. Chain 1, 1 double crochet into the next double crochet, and repeat this all the way around until you get to this point right before the chain, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay guys, I'm coming to the chain space. I'm almost there, and I'm placing a chain 1 and then a double crochet into that double crochet that has the chain attached to it. So I'm first placing a double crochet there like that, and then chain 1, and then now we are working on the middle chain that we created. So we're just going to mirror exactly what's on the downer side. So wherever you place the double crochet is exactly where we're going to place the double crochet on this side, like that. Chain 1. You can see the next double crochet was placed here, so you just go into the back side and place a double crochet and continue that all the way across the chain. So we are working on the middle chain that we created for splitting the leg holes. So work all the way across the chain into the same chain where you placed the double crochet for the first leg hole, and this is exactly what you'll have. From here you're going to chain 1 and place a slip stitch into the third chain of the first chain 4 of the round. So place 1 slip stitch there. So that marks the end of the very first round of the second leg hole after splitting the legs. So let's go on to the next round. So from here you're just going to continue to mirror the same exact thing. Just rewind the video to row 2 of the first leg hole and just repeat the same exact process. Everything else will be the same. I had to show you the very first round because it's the one that usually confuses people. So for the second round, you just chain 4 turn, work your mesh pattern, then slip stitch. The third round, same thing, create the mesh pattern, and the very final round, or as long as you get the same number of mesh rows or rounds that you had for your first leg hole, the final round of the shells has to be worked on the right side of your work. That's what you should remember. So just rewind your video and repeat the same exact process as you did for your very first leg hole, and I'll meet you back when I'm done with both sides and I'll show you how they balance out. Alright guys, so I am done with the second part, the second leg hole. As you can see here, we have a balanced thing. Now the other thing that you have to look out for is you should be having the same number of shells around each leg hole, otherwise one side may look a little bit bigger than the other side. So for me, I have a total of 10 shells on each side. Each leg hole has a total of 10 shells, and if I align them like this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 times 2 because we have 2 layers. And then when we do this on this other side, same thing happens. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is 10 shells all the way around the leg hole. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is get rid of all your loose strands. So if you need to use a darning needle, go ahead and use it. I have 2 strands at every point, so what I'm going to do is just tie and cut, just tie knots and then I cut. I have to make sure one of the strands goes around a stitch. That's why I'm using my crochet hook to make sure these loose ends are secure enough. And in most cases, I tie a total of 3 times so that I have a very secure knot. Okay. I think the loose strands at the base of the shirt are done. My yarn is kind of stretchy, not so much, but quite stretchy. Now, well, we're going to do the upper part of the shirt. I think I can also get rid of this one right here so that I'm done with all the loose ends. And this is what your shirt should look like. I don't know how long you made yours, but mine is a mirror of my inspiration. So from here, you're going to make, you're going to grab your yarn and make a very long chain of about 200 chains or 250. So go ahead and do that. I'll meet you back afterwards. Alright guys, I have a total of 200 chains. I think I should have done even more. So we're done with our drawstring. Now you're going to put away everything apart from the drawstring and your shirt, and you're going to grab your darning needle. Just watch what I'm doing. You're going to thread it with the tail that starts the chain or ends the chain. We have the same thing going on at this point. So you're going to just thread it like this, like as if you're going to sew or attach something. And you're going to locate the very middle of the front side. So this is the back side because we have the same line going on around here. It may not be as visible, but I know that this is my seam line because that's where I ended each and every round. So we're going to turn our work onto the right side and get the exact middle. Just try to draw a line from the exact middle of the shirts and just go in and out of every space all the way around the shirt. Okay guys, I'm almost coming back to the middle, and this is what we have. Alternatively, you can skip some spaces, for example 2 spaces, and then put the drawstring through. This will help us get the same exact look as what we have for our inspiration photo, as you can see here. And for me, I decided to go into each and every space so that we can get an even distribution around the waistline of the shirt. And for this, you can always pull it in case you have a smaller waist, or if you want a tighter fitting for your shirt. And then you can tie your drawstring. Alright, so this is what we have. Let's have a look at our inspiration. So at this point, you can go ahead and attach your tassels. I have a detailed video of how to create tassels for your crochet garments, and I'll be leaving it on the screen for you to try out if that's something that you would like to give a try. And I think this is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like these. Thanks for watching. Bye.